Hey you guys, welcome back for another video here in the membership community. I am so thankful to have you, and I pray that today's video is a blessing to you. So today I'm going to be chatting with you guys about homeschooling, a look back really at my homeschooling journey. I get asked all the time, all of the time, if I could go back, what are some lessons I learned? What would I do differently? Would I change anything? And while I understand the sentiment behind the question, I really struggle with the thought of doing anything differently, because if I had done anything differently, I wouldn't be where I am today. That is the same in homeschooling as it is the same in my life. If I made different choices or different, I had waited longer to do certain things, or maybe was a little more prepared in this aspect, or whatever the case might be, I wouldn't be where I am today without those moments. And so, spoiler, I'm just gonna come right out and say it, even though I've been homeschooling for almost 10 years, I wouldn't change anything that I did or anything that I didn't do, because all of that was a refining, sanctifying process that led me to where I am today. And I wouldn't be the woman and the wife and the mom and the homeschooler that I am today without those experiences, without those growing pains, without those learning moments, without those hard seasons, without the homeschool group you saw that we got kicked out of. Like, if I didn't go through those things, I wouldn't be where I am today. And all of those moments were necessary to make where I am today, a place where I can share and I can encourage and I can be helpful. And so it's true for my homeschool as it is for my life. I don't regret anything in my life. I truly don't, because God's grace covers my mistakes. And as long as we are learning and we are seeking the Father's face on all things, then nothing is wasted. Even our bad experiences, like being kicked out of the homeschool group, that was a learning moment for me. That was a learning curve. And it was horrible to go through, but it was valuable, because I am content not being involved in a homeschool group for many reasons. One of which, though, is that experience. I learned a lot of lessons. I learned that, being in a faith-centered homeschooling community has to be priority number one. You will still find awful people, even in the Christian circle, but your odds of finding really awful people are much higher if you don't have faith in common. So yes, I learned that. Yes, if I went back and did it again, I would absolutely never join a homeschooling group that wasn't Christ-centered. But I don't regret that, because I needed to learn that. And so I don't ever look back on my homeschool and wish that I had done anything differently, because it all led me to where I am today. And I am grateful to be where I am today from those experiences. So I wanted to come right out of the gate and share that with you guys, because even if I go through something in my homeschool that is not enjoyable, it's a rough season, for whatever the reason might be, I never look back on it and wish that didn't happen, because I know that God uses all things for good, for those who love Him. And so anything bad, anything difficult, anything hard that I walk through, when you lay it at the feet of Jesus, He will make it something good. And that's what He's done. He's taken everything that I've learned and made it something beautiful. So I do not look back on my homeschooling journey and wish that I hadn't done things, or wish that I did more things, or wish that we didn't go through that, or whatever. I just don't live that way. I don't think that way. I don't operate that way. I strive in my homeschool, and I have from day one to enjoy whatever season I am in mothering, and whatever season we are in our homeschool. I've learned a lot of lessons, way too many to even list. Homeschooling has literally changed my life. It's changed who I am as a person. It's changed who I am as a mom. God used homeschooling to sanctify me in ways that, and he still is continuing to do that, but in ways that I never expected or saw coming. God used homeschooling to be so much more than just about homeschooling. I hope that makes sense. So the Lord got my attention through homeschooling, but he wanted to work on so many other things in my life and in my heart and in my mind that he used homeschooling to achieve. So I've learned a lot of lessons, like I said, way too many to even list here, but I have always strived to enjoy the season that I'm in with my kids, as you know, in our homeschool and in motherhood in general. I want to look back on my homeschooling journey and know that I gave it my absolute best effort. And that is why you guys see me working really hard. I work hard, sometimes to my own detriment, but it's because I don't want to look back on my homeschooling journey and wish that I had done things differently for a lack of my own energy or my own creativity. Some things are out of our control, and that's okay. God's grace covers those things. But I really want to look back at the end of this homeschooling road and really know that I tried my hardest. We all have our good days. We all have our bad days. We don't have to be perfect. Thankful that we don't have to. But I don't think that if you are trying your absolute hardest to meet your kids' needs and love them and disciple them, that you can ever look back on that and wish that you had done it differently. And so I have made that my priority. My children are my mission field. They are my greatest priority. They always have been. I won't look back on my homeschooling journey and wish that I had done anything differently, because I truly am giving it my all. So I guess that would be my encouragement to you. If you're someone who is, kind of wondering, what would Ashley have done different? I can confidently come before you guys and say that, yes, there's lessons that I've learned. I'm not denying that, like I said, about the homeschooling group, or, just self-doubt that I've written blog posts on, that I've walked through. I wish I would have been obedient right away instead of doubting God. I wish I would have, I don't really wish, but I'm saying these are the lessons that I learned. To not worry so much about the future, that God's grace meets us where we are in those moments. God never gives us grace for tomorrow today. The grace comes today for what we need. And so I spent a lot of time pondering the future. How is middle school going to go? How is high school going to go? And what I didn't realize was that God was I did realize it, but I guess I wasn't, thinking on it, meditating on it, being completely aware of it, that God's grace was going to meet me in that season, because he met me in the season I was in before. And so I've learned lessons, so don't get me wrong, guys, but I don't look back and regret anything, because it's all been a growing process, and it's all been a sanctifying process, that each hard step, each hard lesson, each hard homeschooling day, each hard situation with my child, each day where I fall into bed and feel like I have nothing left to give, and then I wake up tomorrow and I somehow manage to get through it. Those are all moments where God is showing himself to me, and I am not the same woman that I was before I started homeschooling as I am today because of those things. So the moral of the story is, I try my hardest, and I know that God's grace will meet me where I am that day, and I rest in that while also doing everything I can do to ensure that when I look back on my homeschooling and motherhood journey, I had my priorities straight. I had my eyes on my Father in heaven, and I had my focus on my children. And I'm gonna make mistakes. We don't have to be perfect, and I have, and I will continue to. But I don't look at those things as something bad. I look at them as valuable lessons that I've had to learn to become who I am today as a follower of Christ. God uses homeschool to make us more into his image, and that's just the facts. So I hope you are encouraged to hear that whatever you've done, whatever you think you've messed up, whatever you feel like you're not doing enough of in your homeschool, give it your best effort, but then rest knowing that God's grace covers our lack, because we all lack, and there will be things that I miss or that I said wrong or that I set up a bad system for, but that's okay because we don't have to be perfect because God is. So I don't look back on my decade almost of homeschooling with any regret. I look back and see how far God has brought me, and I know that he'll do the same for you guys. So I pray that this video was an encouragement to you. I pray it was a blessing, and I pray that whoever needed to hear that this video reaches. So thank you guys so much for being here and supporting me in this community so that I can make videos like this that you would not find on the regular side of my YouTube channel. I hope you are doing well, and I will see you guys in my next one really soon. Bye, friends.